Laura is an award-winning journalist for The Guardian. She arrives at the office to a warm reception from her colleagues, who praise her latest exposé on corruption within an NGO. As she settles in, she checks her emails and finds an exclusive invitation from the Lindstad Foundation. Before she can read further, her editor, Rowan, calls her into her office. Rowan gently asks how she's holding up. With a strained voice, Laura replies, "They drowned the informant in the NGO case." Rowan nods gravely and suggests she take some time off, but Laura insists on continuing to work, showing her the invitation. She explains that Anne Lingard, a wealthy Norwegian shipping heiress suffering from stage 4 leukemia, and her husband Richard are taking the board members on a 3-day voyage aboard their new yacht for a fundraising gala in Anne's honor. Laura has been invited to cover the story. Rowan looks unconvinced, but Laura assures her it'll be the break she needs. The next day, Laura boards the yacht Aurora Borealis. Before entering, a stewardess named Carla asks her to remove her shoes. Inside, she meets Adam Sutherland, a charming but arrogant socialite. Carla informs Laura she'll be staying in cabin 8 and introduces her to Dr. Robert, who's been assigned cabin 2. Laura learns he's Anne's personal doctor. Later, Laura's stunned to find her ex, Ben, among the guests, photographing the very event she's meant to cover. They once worked side by side. He tries to rekindle conversation, but Laura keeps her distance. As the guests are shown to their cabins, Adam introduces Laura to Heidi, who runs an art museum in Mayfair. With a smirk, Adam tells Heidi that Laura will be spying on them. Heidi laughs, replying, "Oh, Richie's journo." Her husband Thomas soon joins them. An hour later, Laura settles into her room as the boat begins its journey toward Norway. As the boat moves, a burned cigarette stub rolls across the balcony towards her. She picks it up and tosses it in the bin. That evening, Richard thanks his guests for attending and for their generous donations, which he says will go towards people who can't afford private treatment. He admits Anne's health has worsened after the journey, but he assures them they'll see her the next day. He then introduces Danny, a popular musician, brought aboard to make their stay more magical. He spots Laura and thanks her for coming. She nods politely. Night falls. Laura gets ready for the evening party while chatting on the phone with Rowan. Just as she's about to step out, she spots Richard nearby and quickly ducks into cabin 10, only to find a blonde woman inside. Embarrassed, she apologizes and leaves. At the party, Laura feels overdressed compared to the modestly dressed guests. She nervously apologizes, but Heidi reassures her she looks lovely. Even Ben compliments her. As dinner progresses, Sigrid, the head of security, approaches Laura. Mrs. Lindstad would like to see her after the meal. After dinner, Sigrid leads Laura to the library. Moments later, Anne enters. Laura thanks her for the invitation. Anne says, "It's a pleasure to finally meet you. She's followed your work for some time and admires how you give voice to the voiceless." Suddenly, Anne starts coughing violently. She admits she's stopped taking her medication, saying she doesn't want to depend on drugs anymore. Anne asks for Laura's opinion on a speech she's written for the gala, confessing that her mind isn't as sharp as it once was. After reading it, Laura asked, "Are you giving all your money away?" Anne smiles wistfully and replies that she's simply returning what they have taken over the years, that the foundation will be entrusted to people far wiser and kinder than she and Richard ever were. Laura is deeply moved. Anne suggests they refine the speech together the next day. Laura agrees. As she leaves, Ben emerges from his cabin. She teases him about working late. He offers a half smile and says, "Only if you want me to." Laura retorts, "I don't make the same mistake twice, though you were a good one." Ben apologizes for how things ended. She smiles faintly. Later that night, Laura wakes from a nightmare. Hearing a strange noise, she steps onto her balcony and sees a splash. a woman floating in the water. Then she notices a bloody handprint on the glass divider. Alarmed, she alerts Carla, who declares a mayday. When asked who she saw, Laura says, "I don't know, it was only for a second. I think it was the blonde woman from cabin 10. Carla checks every room. All guests are accounted for. The captain confirms that no one is staying in cabin 10. The guest scheduled there cancelled 2 days earlier. Laura insists there was blood on the glass, but it's gone. The cigarette butt she threw away is also missing. The captain calls off the search. The next day, Laura asks Richard if she can speak with the crew to identify the blonde woman. He agrees, but none of them recognize her. Frustrated, Laura visits Anne, who says she's too tired to talk. Her medication has worn her out. Later, Laura vents to Ben that everyone thinks she's losing her mind. She insists she spoke to the woman. Then she has an idea. They'll check Ben's photos. As she scrolls through, she spots the blonde woman. She shows it to Richard, claiming this is the woman from cabin 10. Ben notes the photo was taken at one of Adam's parties months earlier, but both men deny ever seeing her. Dr. Runlet suggests Laura might be traumatized. After all, she recently saw a woman drown. Shocked, Laura demands to know how he knows that. Ben admits Rowan told him, saying he was worried about her. Furious, Laura storms off. Richard arranges a spa session for her to calm down. Afterwards, Laura returns to her cabin and finds the word "stop" scrawled on the bathroom door. She demands to know who entered, but the maid insists she saw no one. Later, she spots Adam leaving the sauna and asks if he's been in her room. He denies it. Laura requests to review the security footage, but is told the cameras are switched off for guest privacy. That night, while showering, she finds strands of blonde hair in the drain. She collects them in a plastic bag and sneaks into cabin 10. There, she finds more hair, proof someone stayed there. She runs to Ben, insisting she's not mad. If no one's been in that cabin, whose hair is this? Ben promises that if Sigrid hasn't found the woman in 32 hours, he'll help her file a formal complaint, but warns her not to upset the guests. At lunch, Richard gives a heartfelt speech about Anne, who tears up midway. Later, during whale watching, Laura quietly questions the crew again. They all deny seeing the blonde woman. As she returns to her cabin, Robert stops her, suspicious. She explains she's just exploring. He smirks, "Enjoy the peace while it lasts." Back in her room, Laura finds a missing button on the floor. She bags it with the hair. Moments later, she's pushed into the pool. The cover closes over her. She nearly drowns before guests pull her out. She insists someone tried to kill her. Noticing Robert's cuff is missing a button, she accuses him, but Sigrid dismisses it. Later, she discovers the plastic bag of evidence is gone. Ben admits he told the others about the hair to defend her. Feeling betrayed, Laura tells him to stay away. That night, Laura spots a figure in a hoodie, the same one the blonde woman wore. She follows her below deck and confronts her. The woman denies everything, warning Laura to back off or you'll end up like her. They struggle, and Laura realizes it's Anne. Shocked, she's overpowered and locked in a cabin. When she wakes, she pieces it together. The blonde woman is impersonating Anne. Laura accuses her of lying. She doesn't even know Anne stopped taking her medication. The imposter, named Kerry, confesses. Richard killed Anne after she caught him with Kerry, who had been hired to pose as Anne to sign the will, ensuring Richard inherited her fortune. He'd found Kerry online using AI facial recognition. Kerry says she only agreed because she's poor and has a daughter. Laura warns her Richard will kill her next, but Kerry locks her in and leaves. Meanwhile, Richard orders Robert to find Laura and get rid of her. Robert hesitates. Overdosing Anne was one thing, but murder is another. Richard reminds him he has evidence tying him to Anne's death. At midnight, Carrie returns, confessing she overheard Richard's orders. Laura urges her to go to the police, but Carrie refuses. They'd arrest her as an accomplice. Laura promises to protect her after the will is signed. On the day of the gala, Ben checks on Laura, but Carla says Robert sedated her. As the others leave for the gala, Laura sneaks out, retrieves Anne's speech from the library, and tries to call for help. Robert catches her. A chase ensues. Ben intervenes, but is stabbed in the neck with a syringe. Before dying, he tells her to run. Laura dives overboard, swimming to shore.
Meanwhile, Robert updates Richard that Ben was killed while protecting Laura. Laura eventually reaches the gala venue and is spotted by Sigrid. She tells her that Anne isn't alive and that someone has been impersonating her. Laura reveals that the woman who went overboard that night was Anne, killed by Richard for trying to disinherit him. Laura hands this. As Richard gives his speech, Laura interrupts, grabbing the microphone. As Richard makes one last attempt to stop Laura from speaking, Carrie tells him to let her speak. He grabs a knife and demands that everyone back off. Sigrid fires at him from a distance, and Laura finishes him off, saving Carrie. The police arrive at the scene shortly afterward. A few days later, Laura publishes her article. Anne gets what she wanted. Richard's accomplices end up behind bars, and Ben's sacrifice helps uncover the truth. Laura also keeps in touch with Carrie.